Microphone. So today we will begin our hearing for the Spokane Planning Commission hearing for Wednesday, September 10th, and we will start out with roll call.
Perfect. President Bank has recused himself, just for the record. Vice President Patterson?
Here.
Commissioner Edwards?
Here.
Commissioner Francis?
Here.
Commissioner Lenhart is absent. Commissioner Shook? Here. Commissioner Tamouche is also absent. Commissioner Williams? Here. Commissioner Yachts? Here. Okay, we have a quorum. And then let the record also reflect that Community Assembly Liaison Mary Winkus is also present.
And Tim, just so you know, your mic is off too, just in case you, oh yeah, yeah. Okay, next we will go over the hearing procedures. We have, please silence your cell phones when entering council chambers. No clapping, cheering, or booing. No public outbursts. We have time limits for individual public comments that are 3 minutes each, unless we have a group of 10 or more people, which it does not appear that we have today. All persons or commission members will wait to be recognized by the president before speaking. Persons testifying are asked to avoid repetition and limit their comments to the specific project and/or code compliance. Each speaker shall follow the instructions from the president so that their remarks may be heard, understood, and recorded. All comments to the Planning Commission will be directed to the secretary and appropriately entered into the public record, including oral, written, and email comments. And no modes of expression not provided by these rules included but not limited to demonstrations, banners, applause, profanity, vulgar language, or personal insults will be permitted. If such disorders present, the president may require the removal of the instigator, recess, or adjourn the meeting. Now we will begin with the presentation on today's hearing on the Hilliard Sub-Area Plan. I believe we have Tim Thompson doing the presentation.
All right, thank you and good afternoon. Tim Thompson, Operations Manager for the record. And I'm joined today by Aaron Perdue from Stantec Consulting, who is our project manager for this particular project. Aaron is joining us virtually online from the fine state of Minnesota. I'm also joined with Ryan Shea, who has played a big part in this process as well, and then also would like to acknowledge Jackie Johnson as well. Her involvement in this has been paramount as well. So with that, we'll get started. So we're here today to talk about the Hilliard Sub-Area Plan. This project has been 2.5 years in the making now. This started out with some direction from the City Council to do sub-area plans with some ARPA funds. So they allocated $1 million of ARPA funding to work on these sub-area plans. This particular project utilized about $330,000 of ARPA funding, and then there's some additional funds through Brownfields grant and an integrated planning grant through State Department of Ecology for a total cost, I think, of just shy of about $500,000. The purpose and the intent of this particular sub-area plan was to review some of the past planning, or review the past planning that had been done in this particular area, and really vet it, and then really create what we would call more of an implementation type of a plan. So reviewing those previous planning documents, the GNEPA plan and the Yard Master Plan and some other documents, the Hilliard vision was created, and that it was to rediscover Hilliard's history, assets, community, and potential through an actionable plan centered on physical enhancements, supportive infrastructure, and land use planning. So really using this process to try to catalyze private sector investment. Key objectives were create distinctive places, enhance livability, achieve economic vitality, improve services within the area, and then identify some implementation strategies that would effectuate the plan. So we started out with an urban framework plan, and this really established the baseline. What were the existing conditions within the particular neighborhood? Through that process, we identified really 6 distinct areas, and so we decided to call those out as separate districts just because they all had a different feel and a different need. So Plan Area 1 was the Hilliard Business District, which is along Market Street. The Hilliard Residential is that residential area to the west of Market Street. Plan Area 3 is the Yard. Plan Area 4 is the East Wellesley District. So knowing that the city has a capital improvement project on the book to improve Wellesley between Freya and Florida, Havana, thereabouts, we thought that this was an opportunity to actually increase the density or intensity within that corridor and create a place where we could provide some additional services to both the legacy industrial to the north and those residential uses that surround it. And so we created a distinct district there. We have the Esmeralda district, which is just to the south of that, and then the Beacon Hill area. As part of that process, we identified some undeveloped or underdeveloped parcels, and that became kind of the impetus for our Catalyst sites map is, what sites are most ripe for development or redevelopment, and that's what this map shows. The intent here is to make strategic investments that really initiate some public sector investment, and then hopefully that really gets the ball rolling and we see additional investment after. So the plan areas, the Hilliard Business District. So really the purpose was to preserve the historic character and Market Street's identity, strengthen as a community hub for dining, shopping, and gathering, and then anchor revitalization within that particular sub area. Opportunities that exist within this area are the Catalyst redevelopment, and currently the PDA does have a project at Haven and Wellesley that they have been working on, and on one of those identified Catalyst sites. There's a suggestion recommendation that we allow for festival streets, really along Queen and A Street. Connectivity, which was to explore the decoupling of Market and Haven, and then really just the activity centers is just to grow those mixed use nodes with retail housing and those cultural amenities. The second is the Hilliard Residential, so largely a single-family neighborhood. We wanted to preserve the character, but also improve livability, and then strengthen as a community-oriented area. So some opportunities there were Crestline and Queen as a local hub or an area for maybe a minor activity center. On the northeast corner, there are at least 2 existing businesses on that particular at that particular intersection. So it just kind of made sense to identify this as a possible activity center. I don't think the intent is that we'll see over time the other 3 corners of that intersection develop with commercial uses. While certainly they could, identifying this as an activity center might just mean, for example, that when we move forward with the comprehensive plan update, and that maybe this area, we give it a little more intensity than what is currently there. Focus on connectivity, which is just better links between this district and the other districts. We heard a lot during our engagement about folks that live in this particular area having a challenge getting across Haven in particular to visit the Market Street corridor, and so really focusing on connectivity, amenities, and safety improvements. Other amenities, enhanced school, parks, and recreational opportunities. There is a pool north on Market Street, and there are parks and open space areas. You have the Children of the Sun Trail, which also connects here. So there's a great opportunity here to really focus on recreation and those amenities. And then just balanced growth, add small scale uses while keeping that residential fabric. And, with the passage of our middle housing ordinances and the allowance for at least 4, and in many cases more units per residential lot, there are ample opportunities within this residential district to see more housing. So in the Yard area, legacy industrial area, we have a lot of unimproved roadways, sidewalks, And so, really the idea here is for this area to evolve into a more diverse employment center for the region. At one time, this was an economic engine for the community with the presence of the railroad, and there's an opportunity to capture that again and create some synergy and really make this an employment center once again, a larger employment center. And we want to support those industrial and commercial uses and workforce housing as well. So opportunities are to redevelop those parcels within the site, and that's going to require some strategic infrastructure investments, and that, as I mentioned and will mention again, is that private sector investment. Again, create jobs and attract that private investment, improve connectivity, and then support those catalyst projects. East Wellesley Business District, so again, transition some of that legacy industrial along Wellesley in particular into more of a mixed-use, support-oriented type of corridor or activity center. Acts as a gateway and connector into East Hilliard and also to and from the Beacon Hill area. Opportunities, redevelop large sites for housing, retail, office, and flex space. Catalyze change with the Wellesley Avenue reconstruction project. I believe that slated for 26 and maybe 27 timeframe with some of the challenges going on right now. But create mixed-use node that, again, links those residential areas to the businesses. And then really overarching goals, support that economic growth with the new services and jobs. Esmeralda, this was just kind of a separate district. It's owned by a single entity, and this is a project or a location that I think we're going to see develop sooner rather than later. We're already seeing plans submitted to the city for development on this particular site. And then Beacon Hill. We've got a lot going on Beacon Hill. We've got a couple of developments. We have the existing event center. And so the idea is, how can we really, again, create an area where folks want to be, take advantage of that existing event center and the views from up there. And so, again, redevelop those 200 acres, housing mixed uses. There's an opportunity to expand the trail networks and recreational amenities. As we get to some of the other maps, you'll start to see some of the open space areas. Highlight this area as a regional recreational attraction. There's approximately 50 miles of mountain biking trails around there, and so we've tried to account for that, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. Balance those, that open space with the development to support those community needs, and then again strengthen that connectivity between the various districts. So in the document, there are a number of planning initiatives. They're all documented in the tables, and we'll kind of touch on that a little bit here in a moment. But really, we were looking for near and long-term actions, what should be a priority, what maybe isn't as much a priority. Again, the goal to enhance functionality, connectivity, and investment opportunities within the area. And then, some of the activity centers would be focused growth where community assets and access are strong, streetscape upgrades, sidewalks, bike lanes, transit, so some targeted improvements. Right-of-way vacations, I mentioned that there are some areas within the yard area in particular that are unimproved, and so does it make sense to vacate those rights-of-way versus spending money on improving them? So really looking at that as a potential option. For utility projects, modernizing our infrastructure systems, and then parks and open space, just enhancing what we have. So land use and urban design. So on the map depicts our land use map. So we're talking land use, not zoning. And so this proposal, in essence, is suggesting that we look at proposed land use changes along that Wellesley corridor to a mixed use employment type of a land use category to build upon some of that existing commercial and industrial space, but still allow for some bulk and intensity in some of those service industrial service type uses. And then we're proposing, or the plan proposes to change the land use on Beacon Hill to allow the event center to do more. Those folks have a vision for the future, and in talking with them, we've tried to incorporate that vision into this plan, and this is a big component of that, is to suggest an increase or a change in the land use that would allow them to really broaden the spectrum of uses that they'd like to do. There were some other possible discussions of, looking at other intersections like Havana and Francis and for possible land use changes, but really just kind of looking at what's out there and maybe what's surrounding it, opted not to make any of those changes. There were suggestions perhaps to change the land use within this 6.5 or so area block that's south of Wellesley and north of the Esmeralda Golf Course. As staff, we looked at that, we analyzed that, we contemplated that, and ultimately we chose to keep it the way that it is now. There's a lot of existing redevelopment that's occurring within that area. It's happening organically, and I think there's some fear that by changing the land use, which potentially increases property values, will actually disrupt the reinvestment that's occurring now. Additionally, the parcels are relatively small, and so to do a larger mixed-use type of a development, you're really looking at trying to consolidate properties, which isn't inconceivable, but it's challenging in an environment like this, and particularly when you have existing investment happening. And then, there's also some concern that if you change the land use and you increase the land values, now you are affecting displacement as well. So we just wanted to be really conscientious about that. We also know that looking ahead, when we talk about our comp plan and our periodic update and some of the trends that we're seeing here in Washington State and some of the direction and feedback that we've received, that we're going to be looking at potentially allowing commercial type uses within those residential neighborhoods. And then you have, this new corridor along Wellesley that's intended to provide some of those support uses. And so, when we're talking about a 6.5, block area, most of those folks, if they wanted those services, wouldn't necessarily have to walk within their neighborhood, but can walk up to Wellesley and get the services. So just a little background there is, I think what my point there is, this was not done in a vacuum. There was a lot of thought put into this proposal. So we did a market condition. So we wanted to look at housing, population, and employment numbers, and just whether or not this area could handle it, and whether it was ripe for those. And the market analysis just showed that yes, there's enough area, there's enough land. The absorption rate is there, and so we do feel like this area can accommodate the additional employment, the additional residential uses, and the additional commercial. So this is just kind of one of the tables that's in the plan itself. So, L1, for example, is a future land use comp plan, update future land use plan to reflect the preferred land use concept. So if we go back to that map a few slides previously, that's what that's addressing. Initiative is mixed use, create a new family of mixed use zones for centers and corridors as recommended by the Corridors and Centers study. So I think we're all aware our Centers and Corridors study recently recommended that we look at creating mixed use zones in lieu of centers and corridors. And so this recommendation just kind of carries that forward. Walkability changes, consider modifying block size, frontage, and connectivity requirements to achieve a more walkable environment. Traditionally, especially in industrial areas, you have larger blocks. So, how do you promote walkability and other modes of transportation? Design standards, SEPTED, we talked about right-of-way vacation. So this just gives you kind of a broad spectrum of some of the recommendations that the plan makes. Housing, as I mentioned, we do believe that this area has enough capacity to absorb the number of units that would occur over the next 20 years. I mentioned, the fear of anti-displacement. Anytime you have gentrification or private sector investment, you're going to see some possible displacement. And to some extent, what can you do about it? It's hard because on one hand you want the investment, on the other hand you don't want that displacement either. So it's a balancing act. So I think just being mindful of that. So in our South Logan TOD plan, the graphic on the screen was something that was included in that plan. Again, this document is just carrying that forward. Anti-displacement is something that we'll have to deal with our comp plan anyway. It's mandated by the state now. So the key point here is this sub-area plan is not establishing any kind of displacement policies. It's simply recommending that we consider displacement policies or anti-displacement policies. So to that effect, one of the recommendations is to consider a series of anti-displacement metrics that can be monitored throughout the implementation of the plan. So that's kind of the recommendation behind it. It's not setting policy. Transportation and mobility. So, what we're trying to accomplish here: improve connectivity, walkability, safety, transit access, bicycle trail network, support for growth, and that balanced system. And so we've coordinated both internally and externally to really get a broad picture of what we can expect out there. Obviously, the biggest component of this is the north-south connector and the completion of that. So, nobody really knows what the effect is going to be of that and how traffic patterns might change when that's open. We can predict, and there are models. And so, one of the key components in that was the Market Haven couplet and when was an appropriate time to consider that. Initially, we were looking at once the NSC is open and we've had a time to really look at and monitor the traffic, that might be a more appropriate time to look at the conversion. And a lot of that was based on the fact that we just did some pretty significant intersection improvements and spent a lot of money, particularly along that Wellesley corridor, that to do anything sooner, didn't really make sense. Since that time, there's been some direction given that is a component that we want to look at and tackle sooner rather than later. And so that's something that I think you'll see the city move forward with in the nearer future, is the decoupling of Market Haven. Add criteria reflecting economic development potential, impact on existing community, and areas of economic and social benefit. So frequently what happens is an area like the Yard on the scoring matrix doesn't rank very high because it needs a lot of work. It needs a lot of investment. And so the cities has to look at the available resources, and they have to determine how we get the most bang for the buck. And a lot of times that means taking care of newer roads, I'll say, compared, relatively speaking, to the roads that are in the Yard area, because you get more bang for the buck, because by maintaining those roads, they last longer and we can save on reconstruction costs in the long run. And so an area like the Yard doesn't necessarily score as high because there's a lot of money and a lot of infrastructure deficiencies over there, particularly when you talk about roads. I mentioned the Market Haven decoupling, and then equity and accessibility. As new households and employees are added to the area, prioritize transportation improvements that enhance equity and accessibility. Utilities. So, really looking at our utilities from stormwater, water, sewer, electric and gas, broadband infrastructure. For the most part, our underground infrastructure, relatively good shape. There are some gaps. There are some areas that need to be upgraded. But for the most part, that in-the-ground infrastructure is in relatively good shape. The one challenge is stormwater. There is not a robust stormwater management or plan or program within that area, and so that's kind of a real big deal, and so we've tried to address that in this plan. And the reason why it's a challenge is because when development comes in and they have to deal with stormwater on site, they effectively potentially lose up to 30% of their site. So it's 30% of their site that isn't developable because they have to have retention. And so the idea here is, how can we look at maybe a broader stormwater system that would allow for greater usability of that land? And while we didn't come to any kind of a conclusion as to which way to go and what the project should be, I think this plan sets forth a roadmap for the Northeast PDA in particular to really, grab onto that and really work with the city, with the ICM on what that project might mean for the area. When it comes to gas and power in particular, Avista has some planned upgrades within the area. There's some concern in the short term that depending on the type of user that, the electric grid could be challenged, but there are some planned upgrades in the area that would alleviate any concern for electric power. And really what that means is if a heavy power user came in now, then there could be a lag beyond that as to when those upgrades would come online before they could provide adequate power for the entire area. Parks and open space, so maintain and improve parks. The aquatic center, Esmeralda Golf Course, obviously a great amenity. This plan, I don't know, this isn't working, but this plan is suggesting that the area around the water tank reservoir on Beacon Hill be used as a trailhead, as a parking area. You can see the dark green lines. Those are power line easements, so there are opportunities to use those as trails to get folks, from a parking area to the mountain biking area. So really finding ways to utilize this area or to enhance those recreational opportunities, enhance the parks, potentially enhance the retention basin on North Market, just south of Francis. So as with any plan, one of the primary keys to effectuating that plan is how do you pay for improvements? And that was a big part of this particular process is what funds are available, are they sufficient? If not, what funding mechanisms could potentially fill the gap? So we're looking at city capital improvement program funds, state, federal grants, tax increment financing or local improvement districts, obviously public-private partnerships. But really what we're looking at doing is maybe taking a smaller bite at the apple, if you will, so that, we're not spending, $40 million up front on specific improvements, that we can take smaller bite-sized pieces and phase those improvements in, trying to ensure that we get the most bang for the buck. So the primary financing tool would be the tax increment financing district that was established along with the PDA. Other funding, as I mentioned, was the local improvement district, which is an assessment that is typically collected on the property tax bill. Potential for utilizing public utility districts, the local infrastructure financing tool. Obviously, grants are an option, but when we talk about state and federal funding in our current environment, it's really up in the air. Nobody really knows at this point what that's going to look like going forward, but it's on the radar as a possible funding mechanism, depending on what's available at what time. And then the Community Economic Revitalization Board, or CURB. So next steps is, this is a Plan Commission hearing tonight. We're looking for a recommendation to accept, acknowledge the plan, and forward that on to the City Council. We're obviously working on our comprehensive plan periodic update, so this plan will help to inform the periodic update, much like some of the other planning efforts we've done recently. All that will help to inform the comprehensive plan. Continue to focus on our community partnerships, our collaboration with the NEPDA, businesses and residents within the district. Focus on some of those catalyst sites to try and build some momentum. And I mentioned those phased investments, those phased infrastructure improvements that will help to catalyze development. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioner Francis?
Does the plan address the tree canopy in the residential areas? Because I know that the northeast area has a tendency to have a low canopy cover.
Aaron we'll get Aaron to chime in here. Do you know offhand, Aaron?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm assuming that you can hear me. Tell me if you can't.
Yes.
Okay. We didn't go into a lot of detail about tree canopy in the residential areas and how to increase that. But that is something that we could look at if it's a priority and you'd like to make sure that it's documented here so that that idea can carry forward into other funding opportunities. I think that's something that we can do. If you're talking specifically about the Hilliard residential area, which is kind of on the northwest portion of our study area.
Correct. We just have an objective as a city to increase our tree canopy to I think it's 27% or something. And so anywhere where we can improve that would be great.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? Otherwise, we can move on to public testimony. We have one person signed up. If there's any additional people, feel free to grab one of the sign-in sheets. So our first person is Pete Rayner.
Thank you for being here. My name is Pete Rayner. My address is 12126 North Arrowhead Lane. I spent Monday joyfully reading this plan. I didn't read it last week because I had COVID, but I read it and saturated myself in it, partly because I own Beacon Hill, and I had to solve the same kind of problems to get Beacon Hill started that they're talking about here. And also, this is my fifth term on the county's planning commission, so I'm kind of a nerdy in this type of activity. I bought my first piece of Beacon in 1988, 36 years ago. And when I bought the second piece, it came with an appraisal done by T.J. Menock, who the bridge is named after his father, and it described Beacon Hill as undevelopable. So I had to do the same thing to Beacon Hill that the NEPDA is doing right now for all of Hilliard. There's a big difference in 36 years, though. When I started 36 years ago, nothing good happens in Hilliard, and a dime invested in Hilliard is a dime wasted. Well, I'm hoping to prove that wrong. We've brought Beacon Hill to bear. We're zoned for 3,000 units. We have over 200 units under construction right now. We figure in 2 years we'll have about 600 units under construction. Our total capacity is 3,000, but that's zoning. Not physical capacity is probably something in the half to two-thirds of that. But at the median priced housing, that's over $1 billion in housing in one project in Beacon Hill, or in Hilliard. Why I was able to read the the plan, with a smile on my face, was I went, holy crap. And you folks sitting on the planning commission, I think you understand what I'm saying. If this plan was proposed on the South Hill, what chance would it have? Well, first of all, it doesn't have a railroad. It doesn't have a freeway through it. And it doesn't, but what it doesn't have also is it doesn't have the Hilliard people. When we bring a matter to bear to be decided upon, the people in Hilliard show up to support it. They don't show up to fight it. The ideas that they've got in here are very creative, and I think they would not fly in any other district in the city or county of Spokane. I can't emphasize how much I was thrilled to read it. There were ideas, well, let me back up. The real joy in Hilliard is getting to know the people that live there. They're amazing. And they've been working to do this way before the 36 years ago that I started on it. And so I'm here to say I support every aspect of it. There's some of them are going to prove to be more valuable than others, but you're in a community where the community wants to grow. And I want to give you a number to think about. Beacon Hill will have hosted over 1,600 weddings by the end of this summer. If 1,600 brides want to get married in Upper Hilliard, how many people want to live there? And if you bombed the yard, I defy you to build a house in Spokane County, because the builders all are occupied in the yard. And they're occupied there because it was available, and as a lot of them got in there, those small parcels that are available serve them beautifully. And now that the North-South Freeway is about to be done and Bigelow Gulch is done, the city, the NEPDA secured, with the city support, almost $5 million to rebuild Wellesley, and we're going to build the correction to get up to Beacon. It's a great place to be in the next 20 years. And I mean, I would be thrilled to have a project like this come before me in the county. I mean, it's just so, as I read it, and think of myself as a land use guy, half of the stuff I'd have never thought of, or I wouldn't have dared think of it because I was afraid it wasn't going to fly. But this is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. We fight land use decisions in the county just like you do, because how do we meet concurrency? And Hilliard's got it. You got $1 billion north-south freeway. You got a brand new finished east-west corridor in Bigelow Gulch. There's a railroad track in there. There's just so many opportunities and a population willing to support it. I can't give you a high enough accolade to move this thing forward. And I'll answer any questions if you've got any, but I'm for it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And do we have someone else online for public testimony? No? Okay. If that is it, we will be closing public testimony and ready to entertain a motion for the hearing.
I move that we recommend adoption to City Council of the Hilliard Sub-Area Plan.
All right. And is there any discussion or comments?
Just that I like brides as a statistic.
Be grooms too.
Just kudos to the staff and to Jesse and for developers like Pete who are helping make this happen. It's very exciting. Incredible potential.
And if I could, Madam Vice President,
Yes.
I completely echo what Pete said. The people in Hilliard are phenomenal, and when you meet them, yeah, I've experienced that myself. But to answer Commissioner Francis's question, on page 69, there is some reference to a tree canopy along Market Street between Francis and Garland to improve the overall walkability and aesthetic. And then on page 99 of the document references the Sustainability Action Plan, which talks about greenhouse gases, and one of those components of that is tree canopy.
go ahead.
So I'm just going to say before we actually vote, because I know we will, I appreciate this plan. I will not say that I had the opportunity to read the full thing. It's very comprehensive, particularly with the appendices. In the 10 years on Plan Commission, there's been a lot of activity in that area with regards to attempts for development and looking at brownfields and blackfields and all the different challenges in that area. And what I like about the Hilliard District is the opportunities that are up there. There is so much growth that can occur and a strong core of individuals to support that. And I think the plan does a really good job of identifying those opportunities and setting a roadmap for implementation. So I will support the plan.
I just, a quick comment that I have been wanting to go up to Hilliard more because so much more is happening in there. And it's been difficult to get from the southeastern part of Spokane to Hilliard, especially if you're not driving a car. But until recently in the summer, I had the opportunity to start at the river's boundary to take the Children of the Sun Trail into Hilliard. And it was so easy and not stressful and such a nice connection to the rest of the city that I'm excited to see the rest of that built out, especially as that part of the city continues to redevelop. So I think we are ready to vote. Angie?
Vice President Patterson,
Aye.
Commissioner Edwards,
Yes.
Commissioner Francis,
Aye.
Commissioner Shook. Aye. Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Yachts.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Great. Thank you for everyone's participation and the presentation today, and we are adjourned.